we are talking about the movie Pet, a 2016 psychological horror movie directed by Torrens. And this one stars Dominic Monaghan as Seth and Ksenia Solo as Holly. Now, I'll give you the basic premise here, but there is a reason why I'm not going to go too much into it, which I'll come on to in just a second. So the basic premise here is Seth is this kind of like lonely, introverted guy who works in an animal shelter. And one day on the bus he sees a girl that he kind of used to go to school with and is a little bit kind of obsessed with her, has a bit of a crush on her, and basically ends up sort of stalking her. He ends up kidnapping her and keeping her captive in a cage that he's built underneath the animal shelter. And there, basically, the rest of the movie will kind of is set. And there are a few twists and turns that will kind of turn the movie on its head to a certain degree. And that's all I'm going to say about it. So, what are the positives and negatives with Pet? First of all, the actual the idea of the story here and the twist is pretty good. The twist is actually fairly early on, but I won't spoil it for you. But it's something that I didn't see coming, and is a really interesting dynamic, and it kind of turns it on its head to some degree. So I really liked it. I will say it is one of these twists that sort of come out of nowhere. So it's not one I feel that you can kind of pick up the pieces from. And I feel that the best twist is where it gives you a clue. And if you're in tune with it, you can kind of pick it up. This one, you won't have it. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. So, though it's a good twist, it's not a clever twist. But here the performances are the real standout for me. In particular, Ksenia Solo, who should totally be in a Star Wars film, let's be honest. Now, I've not heard of her before this movie, but she does an absolutely fantastic turn here. Now, when you first see her in the movie, you think, oh, she's the kind of typical kind of blonde, skinny girl who you see in plenty of films, but she does a really great performance, and then she has a gradient in her sort of personality, is the best way I describe it, and really does a fantastic acting job here. But that's not to take anything away from Monaghan as well, who does this very kind of like weird kind of loner thing. I mean, if you've seen the Elijah Wood remake of Maniac, it reminds me a little bit of that. Also, his fellow cast member from Lord of the Rings, so it kind of reminded me a little bit of that as well. So the kind of that acting and the kind of the central premise about what will happen, even though I've not really told you. Honestly, it's a good psychological thriller, basically. If I have to have any criticisms of this film, once we kind of get into the twist, once we actually have the girl in the cage, there's not really much in the way of location shooting, shall we say. It pretty much all happens in that room, and I feel it may have benefited from having a little bit of variety in regards to shooting locations. Ironically, it was actually shot in the same set as Saw, the original Saw movie. So you kind of, it might seem some familiar to you if you are a horror fan. So there's that, and also I felt the ending was a little bit weak. The very last kind of climax, shall we say, I don't know, I didn't quite like that, to be quite honest with you. But overall, this is a real strong film. If you like a psychological horror film that's kind of got creepy tones, very well acted. I mean, this is a low budget movie, but it was a well acted movie. And that on its own, I would say, is a reason to recommend this film. There is a reasonable amount of gore in this and kind of violence as well. I was actually surprised how much there was actually on screen. So, you're not going to be disappointed if you're wanting to see some brutal stuff on screen. There is a bit of that on here as well. It's not a slasher film or anything like that. Don't be expecting it every 5 minutes, but there are some kind of some somewhat gory scenes here. But overall, I would recommend this movie. 7.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.